Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and in today's video we'll be talking about multiboxing and the potential for multiboxing to, as we know it, basically be dead going into Shadowlands. Now, Blizzard did not ban multiboxing in itself, but the most popular version of multiboxing, the one that most of us have experience with, dealt with, and just get completely massacred by maybe in World PvP, that type of multiboxing where you have one person running around and a bunch of characters following them, all performing actions at the same time, that kind of multiboxing that a lot of us are familiar with might be dead. A lot of people hate multiboxing. A lot of people hate the fact that it looks like another person just has this massive advantage when they're running around the world and there's like 40 other accounts following them in a one-man army style. So for a lot of you guys, this is good news, but we'll talk about how this will affect Shadowlands going forward, as it is going to have an impact for this expansion. So let's first talk about what is exactly getting nerfed? What is exactly getting banned in this update? It's a policy update change for Blizzard, particularly targeting input broadcasting software, which is what a lot of those multiboxers use in order to run all these accounts. The main component to remember for this update is they are banning the software that mirrors input broadcasting to multiple game clients. What this means is if you're running around on a character and you see another player and you're a multiboxer with like 10 different accounts following you, and you see a player in PvP and you're like, man, I really want to see if I can snipe him out, you'll press a button on your keyboard for an ability like Moonfire. You can actually test multiboxing yourself if you have a main account and maybe like a trial account, and I have one on US as well as on the beta. Turns out Blizzard kind of gave a lot of people on the beta 2 accounts, so this is a perfect opportunity for me to test. If you were to multibox right now without any kind of software, you'll notice that every time you fight an enemy, your second account just kind of stands there unless you actually tab to that account and control it. So if you were a multiboxer with the kind multiboxer that a lot of us have seen, maybe in Legendar out in the open world, and you see a player where you kind of just want to maybe hit him with an instacast and you have like 10 other boomkins behind you, maybe you'll hit the enemy with the Moonfire. What the mirroring software will do is will allow you for you to press a key on your keyboard, and then we'll press that same key on all the other instances of WoW you have running. So on the other accounts, you maybe would do some kind of a clever macro where all these accounts would target the head host of this group, and it would just attack whatever the host is targeting. So with a clever macro of target off target, and you would press Moonfire on your screen, you will press Moonfire on every other screen available. I don't think that anybody actually cares about people multiboxing, as in, let's say you want to level 2 characters at once. Shadowlands just starts and you kind of just want to get 2 characters up and running immediately. Yeah, it's going to be slower when you have to tab between 2 characters and your druid will maybe be put on follow or whatever other alt character you're planning to play in the future of Shadowlands, but I think nobody really cares about someone who's trying to level 2 characters at once. They're not going to be ruining game experience. You're just going to be somebody having to pick up quests twice in a row and turn in quests twice in a row, and having to manage 2 characters and making sure the other guy that's on follow is not stuck in a rock or something. Not a lot of us really care about that kind of multiboxing, but the one where it's a one-man army, that's a whole nother story. The kind of multiboxing people do care about, though, is the kind where you have like 10 different druids following a main head of the druid, and then it's like a hive mind moonfiring people all at once. One moonfire or a couple different moonfires isn't going to kill you in World PvP, but like 10 of them, or 16 or 24 or 40 moonfires at once, I mean, you're basically dead in a single one-shot. So this is exactly what Blizzard is trying to tackle, is the mirror input broadcasting. Multiboxing in itself is not dead if you want to have multiple accounts and play them at the same time. But while I say that multiboxing isn't dead, it kind of is. Because when most of us think of multiboxing, we don't really think of a guy with like 2 accounts, one guy on follow, the main account doing all the work. We really think of this massive clump of just characters just on follow with one another, just obliterating whole cities and groups. That's the one that is really the big one. So for all of you that, let's say, want to have 2 accounts, one maybe to hang out on the auction house, use an add-on to scan the auction house and snipe really cheap prices and play the auction house. You can have one account doing that while the other account does some world quest or something. That's totally doable if you want to get 2 characters up and running and have them both be part of different covenants and do the campaigns at the same time. You're more than welcome to. There's so many different possibilities you still can do. It's just the mirroring of the software that's the one that's really getting curbed. In the past, Blizzard has made some decisions and they never really done anything about it, but this time they made a decision and they seem to be serious about it, since they are sending people warnings right now for using any kind of mirror input broadcasting software, anything of that sort. So people are getting messages about it regularly right now. Blizzard is sending out notifications, and it's really giving people that multi-box regularly a little bit of a pause, because now some people are even refunding all those multiple different accounts that they were gonna set up for Shadowlands. Now they're doing refunds because, well, multi-boxing in that style is basically over. I wonder if Blizzard will make changes to this in the future, and maybe they'll go back on their decision, but this is going to have some pretty big impact. Now, of course, we all hated people just hanging out, let's say, Nazjatar with a full army that just has an instacast keybind ready to go, and it was just super difficult when, let's say, you're trying to go to Stormwind, just to the auction house, and a multi-box with 40 accounts, or hell, 2 of them, which is basically like a full 2-man raid, runs in and just obliterates everybody. I remember that happened a couple times. It was really bad for server stability because the server would just lag out and everybody would be running in place. And as long as the multi-boxers are able to get their instacasts off, then they can dominate the fight. But there's even more things that people could have done with multi-boxing if this continued into Shadowlands. Blizzard been doing a lot of overhauls for professions going into this expansion, and I haven't covered them in full detail, but there's a lot more to do when it comes to professions, be it the gathering professions or the actual production professions like leatherworking, maybe tailoring, blacksmithing, where you get to create stuff and make things. A lot of people play professions in order to make money, whether it is just to gather a bunch of herbs, put them in the auction house, make a big bank out of it, or maybe go mining, maybe go grinding mobs and skinning them for leather. And a lot of the professions with all these overhauls are looking very exciting and something to get into in Shadowlands, because that seems like it's going to be a big money maker. People are going to be raiding and doing dungeons, and they are going to need consumables in order to do better in those raids and dungeons. People are going to need their enchants and gems and such. And of course, we're also going to be making our legendary. So there's even more reason for people to get into professions. Even if you're someone who isn't going to be making stuff, just going out and mining or herbing can be a huge moneymaker, or at least an opportunity. And if you are a multi-boxer, this actually would have given you a massive edge. Now, I'm not someone who is 100% keen and aware of everything the input mirroring software can do. If it can replicate abilities, could it potentially be used to mine or gather a lot more efficiently? I mean, it's one hand if it's just you running around the world and gathering herbs and mining, but what if there's a person with like 6 other characters tied to him that run up to a node and all of them mine that node all at once? Because in World of Warcraft, this isn't like Classic. It's not like once somebody loots a mining node, that means it's gone and nobody else can loot it. Everybody in WoW will be able to, I think within a certain time period, loot the same node multiple times over. So if you're just by yourself looting a node, you'll get a set amount of ore. But if it's you and 6 other accounts following you, maybe they have a mirror software to target exactly what you're targeting and loot the ore as well, that could be a pretty big money maker. So somebody with this kind of software and this kind of multi-boxing could make massive bank, especially early in an expansion when everybody needs all those ores and all those flowers and all these other things in order to craft items. So somebody who could have a massive advantage. This means that with multi-boxing, hopefully in this style, mostly gone, I'm pretty sure there's still going to be people trying to see if they can make it work, and maybe Blizzard's going to have to go on ban sprees. But this opens up a pretty big window for a lot of people that thought that maybe gathering professions were just not worth it because it's so difficult to compete with multi-boxers who could just get so much more out of a single node. Now for those people, it actually might start being worth. This is going to shift the WoW's economy going forward, and it's definitely going to raise the prices on a lot of gatherables that normally multi-boxers will be able to kind of siphon up. Not to mention those multi-boxer accounts that are just standing there and moonfiring the world, kind of standing in an area where there's a lot of leather that can be skinned off of dinosaurs or other creatures. So even for someone who is thinking maybe farming a bunch of leather and from skinning, that's an opportunity as well. Of course, we'll have to see how this is going to impact, because this is probably going to have even more impacts to the economy. But if you're someone who was thinking of actually getting into professions and doing it for gold, now I think would be a perfect time potentially in this expansion, since the whole multi-boxing thing is looking like it might just get curbed. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I want to update you on everything going on with multi-boxing as far as I understood it. Potential for a lot of you guys to maybe make some gold from professions. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll see all of you in the next one.